Hey, it is SoCal Bob right here. And how do we measure things? Even in the world, there are several different types of measurement. I'm aware of the metric system, which I taught back in the 80s. Everyone was going to go metric. That was all there was to it. You might as well forget it. Throw away your rulers and your yardsticks because we're going to go to metric. Turned out we didn't do it. And I did learn about the 10 system. It's all based on tens, multiples of 10. It's pretty simple, really, once you get there. And of course, on my Volvo here, it still has miles per hour and kilometers per hour. It still has both. I don't know if they have both on the registers of most cars now or not. But how do we know what the boundaries are? How do we have proper boundaries? Well, it takes communication, it takes interaction, it takes a relationship. And so with a relationship, then we realize what boundaries need to be, and we set boundaries, and then we drop boundaries once things have, the example was given by a famous pastor that his son, when he was first trick-or-treating, would go to the basket at the door and just dump the whole basket of candy out into his bag, and yay, look, I won Fort Knox. I've got the whole thing here. And that didn't work very well. The daddy had to talk to the son. And then eventually the son got the message, and the father got to step back farther and farther and farther. So the boundary of just take one was still in place. At the same time, the monitoring or the need changed over time. So we boundaries are good, but they change over time, and we have to know where we are and what in a library the boundary is. And then if we're at a football game, the boundary is just limitless. Just scream, yell, holler, jump up and down. Don't take the baseball from the little kid. Don't slug anybody, and don't pour your drink out on somebody else. Common sense kind of things. And sometimes there's certain people who are too much for other people, just too much. It's kind of over the top. Well, you can rheostat down. I have electrical skills, a little bit of electrical skills, and so you can dial it down. But how far do you dial it down? There are some people who are never, ever, ever, did I mention? They're never, ever going to be happy with Bob, let's say. How am I going to make everybody happy? Is everybody happy? I'm not drinking. Oh, that makes me upset. You should be drinking. I know you should be smoking. Everyone's smoking. I'm sure I don't have the white shoes. Everyone is wearing white shoes. You got to have on the white shoes. It gets really, really, really impossible to please everybody. So where's the rheostat on that? Where's the dial on that? How do we get to a place where everybody's happy? It depends on the crowd. Some people, I'm like a superhero. I go into some crowds and they're like for instance, I worked the gate at my daughter's school, and I think I identified a person today. As I told you, the Archdiocese, they don't want us to direct any traffic. So, so we adjusted for that boundary, that new boundary that I was given. And I remember this one car, I remember the last 3 digits of the license plate, and they would just, when I was directing traffic, they would just ignore me and just do whatever they wanted to do. I think I ran into him again today, because I was standing there in the driveway, because there was a little tiny girl, maybe a first grader. She was walking up the sidewalk. She's going to go in the main gate, and I'm not directing anybody, but I'm also standing there so that they can't. It's a big wide gate. There's plenty of room on the north side. There's enough room for 2 or 3 cars. But they just kind of sat there and kind of glared at me. And I thought, this must be those same folks. Because they weren't happy, but I'm like, the little girl comes first. So I just stood there and made sure the little girl had room. Well, for these folks, I don't know if I'm ever going to make them happy. They would rather have nobody there at the gate. Well, then that's a problem, because then people want to drive in the gate, and I'm there to make sure they don't drive in. I'm there to kind of, just be a presence, to look for people, and I play music. And so how do you please 100% of the people all the time? That's an impossible question. It reminds me of my cousin Vinny, and she said, it's a trick question. It's not possible, because the Skylark 62 didn't have positive traction, and without the positive, and she went on and on about it. So that's kind of the trick question. And then not aware. Well, if people don't communicate with me, if it'd be like saying that the folks at In-N-Out Burger are often not aware. What? The people at Chick-fil-A, they're often not aware. Well, how is In-N-Out Burger, Chick-fil-A, how is the smokehouse here in Toluca Lake, Burbank area, how is anybody going to know anything if we don't have a conversation? How is someone supposed to know? In-N-Out Burger, there's onions on here. I specifically said no onions. Oh, well, it's no problem. We'll go ahead and we'll adjust that. We'll take care of it. But if you don't say anything, you can walk out of the store with a fist and a big vein on your neck bulging out because you're so angry, because they're not aware. They're just not aware. If they were aware, they would know. Well, In-N-Out Burger does know. And I happen to know because I worked for In-N-Out Burger years ago. And the question on every single burger that's sold, and I don't know if they don't sell any billions of burgers, but out of all the burgers that are sold, guess what the question is? Would you like onion? Then your response is yes. Yes, grilled please. Yes, whole grilled onion. Yes, raw chopped onion. You got choices, you got options. And if you don't communicate, then you can walk out of the store having a cardiac about how it's so terrible, and they don't know, and they don't listen, and they're not aware, and there are horrible people there, when you didn't do your job to communicate. Just say, hey, I'm kind of busy right now, and but I would like to have onion. Or, I know you're real busy, but no, I don't like any onion on my burger. Whatever it is. A lot of times I'll get the cheeseburger, no lettuce, no tomato, so I can just taste the onion and the meat and the bun and just enjoy it that way. Sometimes I just get a meat patty with a double cheese, kind of a protein style there. So that solves that. I hope that it helps somebody. I hope that we are able to grow together and love and relationship, and that if you have something in your relationship that's not working, don't just, they don't have any boundaries, they're just maniacs. They're too much for people, they don't care. Oh, they have no awareness whatsoever, they're just nummy-nums. Rather than talking like that, how about, hey, you know what I'd like? I would really like it when you get in the car, if you could take off your shoes. I just had this carpeting put in, and it's a brand new Lamb's Will white. And by the way, your phone, when you talk on the phone, you're screaming, and that's like, it's hard for me to even. I don't like it. It's too much for me. If you could just turn down the volume, and I'll let you know when it's just right. That would be great. Just work with people, and let's help each other. Amen? Amen? Amen. Much better than cubbyholing, much better than condemning, much better than putting people in a pine box. Yay. Love you. Talk to you soon.